I hope everyone is having a great LibrePlanet Day 2. This talk is titled How to Make More Users Love Free Software. Double the love, double the freedom. And it will be presented by Clarissa Borges, who won the first ever award for Outstanding New Free Software Contributor in 2020. Clarissa is a software engineering student and fell in love with free software while contributing to GNOME during her Outreachy internship project. This talk is a follow-up to Clarissa's presentation from last year, and she will elaborate and expand on the theme of how to get more computer users to choose free software over proprietary solutions by improving usability. The easier software is to use, the more it will be adopted, and the more computer users find that they can depend on free software, the greater the demand will be for software that respects our right to use and share software as we see fit. Clarissa, please take it over.
Okay, thanks, Salt. So yeah, my talk will be basically about usability on free software, and let's get started. So some things about me. I'm a Brazilian software engineer. Now I am an engineer because I graduated this week. And my first significant involvement with free software community was back in 2018 when I worked on some usability research for some GNOME apps. And when I was doing the tests, I wanted to learn more about usability, and I realized that usability testing is a very nice contribution that free software projects could use more. So I started advocating about usability on every conference that I took part, and I wanted to empower contributors and maintainers so that they could use usability contributions in favor of their free software projects. And I wanted them to understand the importance of having good usability on the projects and how they could do it. So that's a little bit about me. And on the previous episode on LibrePlanet, on the my last year's LibrePlanet talk, I was talking about how to make more users love free software by improving usability. And I provided a detailed guide to run usability tests. So if you want to see a tutorial about how to run usability tests on your own, you can watch that talk. I think it pretty much still covers what I think the usability tests should be like and what I learned. And on this talk, I want to share with you more about my undergraduate thesis that was about usability testing on free software projects. And my goal on my undergraduate thesis was basically to enable usability testing contributions from anyone on free software projects. So why usability testing? Sometimes for users who just want to have their work done, the usability of a program is something that makes them decide over a program for a program over another one. So I believe the main reason why some users still prefer proprietary solutions over free ones is because of usability. So testing usability is a means of knowing how the interface should be improved. So why usability testing on free software projects? Usability testing brings relevant insights on how we can make our interfaces better for the users. They are very simple and fun to run. This doesn't mean that usability testing is easy I used to say that usability testing is easy, but we constantly have this we think that non-technical contributions are easy, and the ones that involve coding are harder, but that's not true. So I want to avoid saying that usability testing is easy, but it's simple. And yeah, I've always found it very interesting to learn about the users' understanding of the interfaces while they were interacting with the software. And they don't require really expensive and fancy resource to be run. And the last thing that I wanted to say is that it's not required that the contributors have any technical background, so it is an ideal contribution for people who are active users in the community. And by active users, I mean those users who like to give feedbacks, suggestions, or who want to get involved with other users. And sometimes we want to contribute to a free software project, and even if we are technical people, I am a technical person. Sometimes I can't contribute to all the projects I want to because I'm not familiar with the technology, so I could contribute with usability testing. And I see it very much as a contribution that usability testing, I mean, it's very much like a contribution that is similar to contributions, because translations were initially hard to non-technical people to achieve because they were required to know a little bit more about how to run the project or where to edit the strings. But now tools to help the translators work were created, and now we can easily have contributions from anyone who knows how to translate words. So it's a very important work that we have, and that a sort of contribution that evolved really much and made more software accessible for everyone. Okay. So there are many problems with the task of running usability tests on open source or free software projects, because many people don't know how to run usability tests, or they don't know how they fit in their projects, because they don't know how to documentate the tests, they don't know how to get contributions from other people. So when I started with usability tests, I tried very much to share with people how to run them and what were the benefits so that anyone could run them in their projects. But the problem is that it's very hard for people to adhere, I don't know how to say this word, adhere to this practice without having defined workflow or ways to store the documentation. So there is a gap between me standing here trying to guide people into running usability tests on free software projects, and that really happening in the real life, because it's hard to start and it's hard to find like a place or a channel where people can submit their contributions, or yeah, it's hard. So I thought of many ways I could approach to help the projects to get started in a way that was really viable. I thought about building some sort of tool, a browser extension, a website, or anything else that would make it easier for the project to have usability tests. But in the end, I realized that it wasn't something related to using tools, I think, in my opinion. So I decided to create an abstraction of everything I know about usability testing and everything I know about free software projects, like the workflow for contributing to free software projects. And I tried to imagine a simple workflow that fits the context of contributing to free software and creating useful contributions for uh, usability tests on free software. I forgot how I started the phrase, but that's it. I hope it made sense. So let's go into more details. Um, so there are many ways to test usability. So that the steps that I'm describing here are more connected to with or to the way that I learned to do them. So I think there are three basic steps for usability testing that are the test preparation, which means the decision on what are the test requirements, preparing the scripts for the tests on what we want to discover from the research. Usability testing is a research. And then preparing the environment where the test should run and looking for participants for the test sessions. And number two, the test sessions themselves. They are the execution of the test with the participants with the help of a moderator. And the last one are the test results, which are the report of the test results. And they are responsible for giving us the insights on what we need to improve in our interfaces. And they are the most important part of the usability tests, because if you run the usability tests and you write poor reports, then no one will understand and no one will be able to use the results, and the interface won't be better. And there are three main roles for that are played on usability tests in usability tests, and those three can be considered contributors for the usability tests. The first role is the test designer, who is the it's very hard not to confuse with the designer of the interface. It's not the designer of the interface, it's the person who projects the test plan. So it is the person who writes the test plan and decides what needs to be tested and decides the user profile for the test that the kind of person that we want to. Okay, sorry people, my internet failed. So I don't know where it failed, so I'll start explaining this part again. Oh, I can't change here the. It's like I'm not the owner of the presentation anymore. Okay, thank you. So there are three main roles played in usability tests that are the test designer, who is the person who writes the test plan, deciding on what needs to be tested, and they decide the user profiles for the test too, like for who the tests are designed, which kind of user we want to have in the test. And the test designer also writes the test plan. We have the facilitator or moderator, who is the person who runs the test sessions with the participants. They also report the results for the tests, and they also can be the test designer. They can like write the tests, and we can have multiple moderators for the tests. For example, if you want to run the test with 6 participants, we can have 2 moderators running 3 sessions each. If the tests are the same. Okay. I'll turn my microphone down a little bit. Is it better? Okay, thanks. So we have the participant, which is usually a volunteer, and it's the person who like everyone is a volunteer, but there is a volunteer that usually is not really attached to the community or something like this, related to the community. So it's the person who performs the tasks in the software, and for each test session, we need 1 participant. So if we want 5 test sessions, we need 5 participants. And this person, it is preferred that this person is not previously familiar with the software, so you don't have like biased results, and that implies that you can't just test with your colleague, with other developer from the software. You need to test like with someone who is not familiar with the software. I got a little bit lost when I came back, sorry guys. So usability testing artifacts that I created for the workflow are a contribution guide and a simple issue template, which is a template for the test plan. I created these artifacts to be used to help people to create their tests and run their tests with the participants. And that's it. This is the contribution guide. This is a small piece of the contribution guide. I'm guessing you can't read anything, but it's like a contribution guide for a project. And this is an issue template. It helps when you're creating an issue in a repository on GitLab or GitHub. You have the option of choosing a issue template and then you can just fill in with the test requirements, with the goals for the test, and other information you need for the test. So when we have the steps and the roles and the artifacts, we have a workflow for the usability testing. And let's see how the proposed workflow with the actors and the steps is. This is the beautiful diagram I drew, and as you can see, this is pure art. I hope I don't scare anyone with my talent. So this is the test designer, who is the person that creates the test plan. And if you listen to my other talk, you'll see that a test plan has goals, requirements, tasks, and scenarios. But I won't give you spoilers if you didn't. And then in a test session, we have a moderator and a participant. The moderator manages scenarios for the participant, and the participant performs tasks in the software. And the moderator is the person who reports the results. So the contribution guide, it is like a complement. I don't know if I can say this in English, but it works together with the issue template. The issue template, it's just for you to fill in with the test plan, and the contribution guide, it helps you to prepare the tests, to run the tests, and to report the results. So it's basically a complete guide, and the issue template it's just for the test plane. Okay, so after I created this workflow, I needed to validate it to see if it was possible to use it, to see if it was viable for free software to use it. So I found volunteers to run usability tests on each one of these, of some of the 5 projects that I'll show later. And so I did a sort of meta testing with my contribution guide and my issue template to see if it was possible for people who don't know anything about usability testing to create their own tests and run their own tests. So I found volunteers to run the tests in each one of these 5 projects on Inkscape, KeePass XC. I don't know if the name is correct. in English, the name is said like this. LibreOffice, Guardiões da Saúde, which is a Brazilian app for tracking coronavirus information in Brazil, and Chatbot Thais, which is a chatbot for understanding Brazilian law. And yeah, so the volunteers were people who didn't know how to run usability tests, and they had to create their tests, run the sessions with participants, and then report results using only the artifacts that I showed you, that I told you that I did, because I couldn't show you everything. So what were the results in the end? It was proofs what we already thought about. The usability tests are very simple. They're not easy, but they are simple. So all the volunteers, they were able to create and run their tests, report results, and have insights on improvements to be made. I was very proud on the results, because I think the results were really great contributions. I think the volunteers did a really great job with the tests, and I was very happy to see the artifacts really being used after the experiment of my work. Especially, I think Inkscape tried to do usability tests after the work was done, so I was really proud and really happy to help. And yeah, I think the volunteers did a great job with the tests. The tests had some flaws, of course, but I think they were more related to lack of experience with usability tests, and there were some unclear information on the artifacts, because it's very hard to write a contribution guide for someone who doesn't know anything about usability testing. But I think they did pretty well. And for the first time that they were running usability tests, I was really impressed, because they did a really good job. And I think another thing that I learned from the usability tests that happened after my artifacts was that providing a good example of a test, of test results, of a test plan, following the same method that I proposed would be very helpful. And that's because some of the tests, they could see the tests from each other. So the tests that happened after the first one, they were sort of copying the first one. So the flaws from the first one were replicated later on the other tests because they wanted a good example and they knew that the first test was a success, so they tried to do it. And I think if I had a good example for all of them, they would be more successful than they were in the end. And last but not least, I think it was possible to enable free software projects to have usability testing contributions. I think it was very nice because it didn't require fancy resources, and the volunteers were very good, and they didn't have experience with usability, so it was very good. And it's very hard to generalize. I know the method to usability, to test usability, I mean, to meet the requirements of every single free software project in this world. But my intention was to create a starting point for the projects, and that each one of them takes the artifacts and adapts it, the usage of it to their reality as they learn more about usability and their needs in this area. And I know it's a very specific and small improvement for free software projects, but I believe that every small change is a part of a small is part of a long journey to make free software more accessible and popular. So I'm very proud of what I could do. So if you are interested in enabling your project to have usability testing contributions, you can email me with information about your project, like a brief context of the project, the repository link, and I will send you a merge request with the contribution guide and the issue template for the usability tests. And I'll try to adapt the artifacts as much as I can to your context. And I can help you to get started if you want to. I'm always very happy to help free software projects to improve, and there is always room to improve usability. This QR code is also to my email. I don't know if it's too small, the presentation is too small, but this QR code, you can scan it and send me an email if you want to have usability testing contributions to your project. And I think that's it, folks. Thanks very much for your attention and for finding some time to learn about usability. Thanks to all of my friends who are listening and watching. And thanks Free Software Foundation for the amazing event and for providing me some space to share my ideas. And I think if you have any questions, I don't know if the space is open for questions, but I did save some time for questions. I think I have about 5 minutes.
Yeah, about 5 or 10 actually. So we do have a few questions in the hopper. Give me one moment.
Okay.
All right. So first up, Omusai was asking, what are some ways test monitors track usability tests without creeping out their testers?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So when you're doing the usability tests with the monitors, how can you conduct those tests without creeping out the users, the like eye tracking, things like that?
I don't use those creepy creepy monitoring tools. The usability tests that I like are the ones with a person watching the user to perform tasks in the software, and I like to make the user feel comfortable when the user is using the software. I always tell them that they are not the object of the test. The what is being tested is the software. So if they make mistakes, it's the software's fault. So the person doesn't get scared or afraid of making mistakes. And I never had any problems with this. Everyone was very happy to help. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Another attendee asked, in your test template, did you set it up so that each tester does the test multiple times, or so that multiple different testers did it only once?
On the template, what I thought is that the author or the designer of the test writes down the test plan in the description of an issue, and the moderators who want to help, they can just, I don't know, copy that description, run the test with the user, and then they write down their results on comments on the issue. So it's easier to have discussions there after all, and everyone can see the results of the test. Like, I don't know if I got the question right, but I think
Yeah, so I think the question is, would the same user do that same test multiple times?
No. The user can't do the same tests over and over because the result will be improved. We want to get the first impression of the user. So when you have like 5 test sessions to run, you have to do it with your mother, your father, your brother, your cousin. So you have to change the users.
Great, yeah, thank you. Let's see. Tessia asked, have you ever run tests completely remotely? And if so, how do you guarantee the setup?
Yes, those tests that were run on my undergraduate thesis, they had to be remote because we are in a pandemic. So we asked the user to install the program previously, but we know that if we are talking about a user that has less technical background, maybe installing the software can be hard for them. So there is this limitation. There are some alternatives, like there are some software that can be run in a browser and stuff like that. But I did it in the simplest way, that was asking the user to install the software and asking they to share their screen on a Jitsi Meet. So it was pretty good because I was like watching the user's reaction on their camera, and I was watching the mouse on the screen, so it did pretty well.
Great, thank you. Cell asked, how did you, excuse me, how did you find participants?
It was hard to find volunteers to moderate the tests. I tried to look for communities and ask people's help to run the tests. But for the participants, I think when I was running tests for GNOME, I asked it in my university forums, like on social media, for volunteers, and people are very nice here, so they were very happy to help me. But I think in some place it might be hard to do it. But I don't know. I think it's very hard. You have to really find someone and ask, hey, can you help me?
Great, thank you. Absolutely. Tom Zane asked, could these UX tests be used for command line programs?
Yes, they could. I never did a usability test on command line programs, but on my thesis there was a usability test that was with a chatbot, so the user had to speak to the interface. So it was very interesting to see, and it was a similar approach to do this. So yeah, you can test communication and wording on software too, and command line is included.
All right, thank you. We still have a couple minutes. I have another question here from NoScript MA1. Are you working with, or do you plan to work with companies like Simply Secure, or are you going to be founding your own? And can you just tell us something about the costs of these services?
I don't know this company. Is this a company of usability
I'm
testing?
not sure. I feel like I might have heard of it. I don't know it either. So maybe they can explain the company. But I guess I have the broad question: or are you taking uh, on your own? Or how do you think you'll be moving forward now that you're graduating?
So now uh, I do usability tests more on my free time. It's like a hobby for me. But on my regular job, I am a software developer, and I'm getting started on a company like tomorrow. And the company is called Commit Change, which is uh, a company that develops mostly free software, so free and open source software. So I'm excited, but I'll be a software developer there.
Yeah, I actually have them in my browsing history. We have 2 more minutes, by the way, but the company behind them, or maybe they are actually located in my state. So that's very interesting. So Simply Secure, it's design coaching and it's designing, it looks like projects that people can trust. It says we support practitioners working with the most vulnerable people by designing for safety and privacy. So,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know it.
yeah, but that's kind of neat. So thanks for asking about that. Are there more questions in the chat? I have a question, I guess. So I've seen some of these tools where you can like walk people through steps, right? Like you're on this page, now you click and then it's, or you do the thing and it walks you, kind of like a survey, but like for user design testing. And are there any free software solutions out there that you found to be effective for that?
mm, I've never seen it actually. I did look for, but I didn't find it. Um, but usability testing is something so simple that you can just have the images and change the images of the screen for the user to interact with. Like you can simulate the behavior of the software. But I've never found any open source or free software solutions for usability testing.
Well, that sounds like a area to address for sure. I know that for our design, we've been working with a new tool I'm pretty excited about called PenPot, I think. So maybe,
Oh, I know it. Uh-huh.
yeah. There was a question. It's a great question, but is there a link to the artifacts you've created?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to add it. Is there anywhere I
If you
can
put it in the
write? Yeah.
chat, I can then copy it over to the air chat.
Okay. Oh, I can write text here. Let me try to.
Yeah, that works perfect.
No, that's beautiful. Oops. So the artifacts are there. Yeah. Can you see it? This link? Or it's just for me? Okay.
Fine to me, I will also be copying it over after I confirm my head. Yeah, it looks like I do. So, oh, someone's quicker. Yeah, so we still do have a couple more minutes here if there are further questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I highly am glad of to see all of this work and things. I think that the user experience is definitely a we need to spend more time on it. It's kind of part of this, like, code contributions are absolutely not the only contributions.
Yeah, we need. I've seen it too. Like, it was very very simple to run usability tests. So I thought that maybe users who like to give suggestions for the projects, they could help with this. And yeah, I mean, improving usability can really empower users.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have some fun usability books back there as well. Rocket Speed and not thinking. Another question came up here is what sort of age ranges for the people you run in these tests?
um, for the test that I ran, the age didn't really matter. I could run. I think I ran with the younger person who was a volunteer was a woman of 17 years old, and the older person was about 50. So for this case, it didn't matter the age, but sometimes maybe the age can matter. It depends on your software. It depends on what is your target for the software.
Great. And this might be the last question, we'll see, but
Okay.
do you have any thoughts on usability specifically for the privacy security setting?
No, but I've never thought about it.
Yeah, I know for me, it's definitely in this area where it's like you always hear you get security or easy. So I think it's
Uh-huh.
an interesting area to think hopefully for the future. Another
Uh-huh.
question came in. What are your thoughts on testers who may have learned an alternative software before, like they're not coming in fresh, I guess? And that'll be our last.
Um, yeah, it's good actually because you can learn if let's suppose that you want some users to feel good using your software. They use a proprietary solution, but you want them to interact with your free solution, and you want to see if they are able to complete their tasks and what's their opinion on your software. So I think it's actually good to compare experiences. So it's okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. This was excellent. I hope you've enjoyed your LibrePlanet.
I've enjoyed very much. Thank you, Salt. Thank you, everybody. I like very much to answer those questions.